And Gordon, if you'll take it away, that would be terrific.
Great, thanks. I'm sorry, I'm just a little late. I seem to have computer glitches, as many of us, I think, have experienced with the past couple of weeks, everybody trying to get on the internet and do things. So thanks to Swift Communications for inviting us to do this. We offered to reach out and help local media companies like Swift help their local marketers. And this is an investment, actually, that Swift has made to bring to their local communities. So you've got a really unique situation where a media company like Swift has said, okay, we want to find out to help these businesses. You guys who are on this call, you are the backbone of this country, local entrepreneurs, and need and certainly deserve help. So we're going to try to offer that to you here with a lot of research, a lot of information. We do tend to move pretty fast because we are a research company, but I'm sure the folks at Swift can get you copies of the slide if you need. We want you to take this information to your customers, take it to heart, understand what to do, but also sort of translate as to how you can actually thrive in a time like this. So if we go back 100 years ago, what you actually see is a big change in how businesses started thinking about what's going on. I'm going to give you an overview of that. Corey Elliott's going to give you sort of a background on what's happening at the local level with some of our research and what other local marketers just like you are thinking and doing. They're giving us a prediction for when this is going to end. So you think of when you think it's going to end, and we'll tell you what your peers are thinking too. I think you might be surprised at that. Jim's going to sort of take it down to the local level, talk about what local marketers, you guys should probably be thinking about right now. And then we're going to talk about the most dynamic thing, promotions, and then open it up for your questions. So let me talk about promotions a second. If you go to the Small Business Administration website, there you have it. Well, they got lots of advice on loan resources and policies and things that you ought to be doing with regarding to safety and HIPAA rules and things like that. But look at this. They're talking to you about marketing. It's critical to communicate openly with your customers about the status of your operations, blah, blah, blah. You already know that, right? You got to be telling people whether you're open or not. But look what they say about promotions. Promotions may help incentivize customers who may be reluctant to patronize your business. How many of you are sitting there? You can give us a show of hands. We can't see you though. How many of you are sitting there thinking, oh God, what are we going to do? How do we get customers in the door? Where there's a Small Business Administration, it's like promotions. There you go. So that's what we're going to talk about. So if you go back 100 years ago, here's a great example. Post and Kellogg. Post was the big cereal of the day, and you are Kellogg. You're a smaller business. You don't have much market share. And your competitors are going to do what Post did. They did the predictable thing. They reined in expenses. They cut back advertising. And the small upstart, that should be you, Kellogg, said, oh, hey, man, we're going to double our ad budget. We're going to move aggressively into advertising. The new medium of the day at that time was radio. And they heavily pushed a new cereal. The economy created by 1933, Kellogg's profits went through the ceiling, and they're still today, 100 years later, the dominant player. This is your opportunity to do that in your markets, in Truckee and in Tahoe and other markets. This is a great opportunity, maybe in a small step, to do it that way. This is not just an old example. We have an example of 9/11 when GM looked at it and said, well, everybody's kind of stopped, but we're going to keep America rolling again. And they pushed this great campaign out. And to everybody's surprise, in the last 3 months, when everybody was retrenching and said, oh, car sales are going down, nobody's thinking about buying cars, the economy's, tanking, GM said, nope. And they sold 1 million new units in 3 months. So there are a lot of examples like this out there. There are a lot of things going on in local markets and things that you can kind of help yourself to, and some ideas that you might have that will help you kind of move things forward in this new economy. So on the next slide, I want to show you Corey Elliott. Corey Elliott is our guy with all the information about what local businesses are thinking and doing. We run the largest survey of local advertisers in the country. We run a monthly panel of advertisers, and he's got some exciting things to show you about what marketers were thinking coming into this period and how things were just really different. And then all of a sudden stuff started happening and then it intensified. So there's a great story here. Corey, take it from here.
Great. Thank you, Gordon. And again, thanks everybody for having us. Okay, yeah. What we do at Burrell Associates is we understand the advertising landscape from a local marketer's point of view or a local business's point of view. That's what concerns us. And we look at it from every business across America. So we know in Lake Tahoe, online advertising spending is around 179 million. We know that in Truckee and Grass Valley, it's around 34 million dollars, or actually $34 million overall. 19.8 of that is online, but we also get this information by asking local businesses. So we run an S&B panel, which is a collection of local businesses across the U.S. And every 3 months, we ask them the same 4 questions. So as you guys look at some of this information, I want you to think how you would answer these questions too, see where you fall. But what I want you to take away from this is look at the difference between December 2018 and 19. So when we were heading into 2020, what were local businesses thinking? Did they think things had gotten better in the last 6 months, was it easier to do business? Only 39% said it was harder. That's down from 46%. We asked about the current economic climate. Is it good to run a small business right now? Went from 5% saying it's an excellent time to 18%. We asked about the future. Hey, what about the next 6 months? Do you think it's going to get better or worse? It went 9% said better. And then in 2018 and 2019, jumped up to 12%. And finally, we asked, hey, will you be spending more in advertising in the coming year? In 2018, 28% said more. In 2019, 32% said more. So all of these are great indicators. Coming into 2020, strong. That's great. Then what happened? Well, let's flash forward to 2 weeks ago. This is some research from the NFIB, that's the National Federation of Independent Business. They ask their members this question. And remember, put yourself in this position 2 weeks ago, March 10th and 11th. Are you concerned about coronavirus impacting your business? 16% very, 28% somewhat. That's 44% were at least somewhat concerned. Were you back then? It seems like ages ago, doesn't it? 2 weeks ago, ages ago. Were you concerned about it impacting your business? 44% already were. How will the coronavirus impact your business? Negatively, positively? What do you think? 43%. First of all, no one said positive. 43% said negative. 37% said not sure. That's 80% where there's a lot of confusion. What is going to happen? And if something happens, I think it's going to be negative. So only 20% said do not expect to be impacted. And the ones who were impacted, who were already negatively impacted, they asked, okay, how? How were you negatively impacted? 39% said we were experiencing supply chain disruptions, 42% experiencing slower sales. And then you had some other, but those were the big two, 39 and 42%. So that begs the question, well, what are you doing about it? And what actions are you taking as a result of the outbreak? Again, put yourself in this back 2 years or 2 weeks answering this question. What would you have answered? 52%, over half said no measurable steps right now. 30% are, stocking up on disinfectant, hand sanitizer, and probably toilet paper. And only 3% there on the right-hand side are modifying their supply chain. Remember, that was one of the major concerns before. So now let's think about where, again, we poll and survey local businesses about advertising. We do it once every year in a big way. Talk to literally thousands of local advertisers and local businesses like yourself across the nation and ask them about marketing. What do they think? What works? What doesn't? It's completely independent of any media company. We're an independent research firm. And this is what we gathered. See if you agree with this stuff. We found out that 50% of local businesses agree with Wanamaker's lament. And if you don't know what that is, it's down there at the bottom. He was a retailer back in the day. And he was the one who famously said, half my advertising works. The trouble is, I don't know which half. Well, half of local businesses think that as well. 48% have no strategy for setting an ad budget. We asked, how do you set your ad budget? 48% said no specific method. I don't really have anything. 58% said they're unsure they're spending the right amount. Some thought they were underspending. Some thought they were overspending. Some thought they just didn't know. And finally, and we got this from the open-ended answers, when we searched through all of these open-ended answers to our questions, most are trying to handle marketing on their own. What do I mean by that? I mean, they're not relying on, a lot of them can't afford an agency, don't use an agency. A lot of them are just piecemealing this thing together like a buffet, just trying to put together a marketing strategy, buying some radio over here, buying a newspaper over here, buying some search words over here, and trying to bring this marketing together themselves. Problem is, well, not problem, but the opportunity is they're local business people. They run a pet store. They're not a marketing expert, and they're trying to do it themselves. Gordon, is there anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I think that if you sort of bring it all together from, okay, coming into this particular time, everybody was happy. You probably were. The economy looked great. Things were doing just fine. It looked like it was going to be a good year. Our forecasts in your markets were that advertising was going to be up, a couple of percentage points, maybe a little bit more. And all of a sudden the rug got pulled out from under you. So as the rug gets pulled out, and everything just seems to grind to a halt, you have these concerns about advertising. You may be overspending, you may be underspending. Hell, you don't have any strategy at all for it. Here's what I would suggest. This is what it all means. You need to go find an expert. It's not a time to just continue on that path when everything was wonderful and you're going, it really doesn't matter. I'm going to throw money here. I'm going to throw money there. I'm going to advertise it. No, you can't afford to do that. You really do need a great level of advice. We could do an entire webinar on how businesses are incredibly overspending on digital services, doing things internally themselves and really messing up. Now is not a time to mess up your messages, and to do the one wrong thing at the wrong time, is going to really hurt. So that's why we suggest, now is a great time for smart businesses to really see this as an opportunity, understand what's happening, and then don't go try to do it yourself. Don't do it on the cheap. Get some expert advice. Go find a partner that can help you, that you can trust, and then begin crafting a really, really strong message and great promotions. Corey?
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about consumer behavior now. So the people out there, what's happening? Nielsen put out this report just last week, I think, where they looked back. Nielsen, a big firm, watching, the cable or people watching what people are. They're watching what people are watching, and come up with the ratings. Well, they discovered that media consumption rises nearly 60% when consumers are stuck at home, whether that be because of a hurricane or a natural disaster, whatever it is, where people have to stay at home and they have to stay put. Media consumption rises nearly 60%. And now that's across all sorts of media. When we look at total digital news site visits, so now we're narrowing it down to people who visit news sites. Here's what's happened in the last couple of weeks. According to ComScore, they kind of aggregated about 40 selected news sites and looked at the visitorship. Went from 392 million up to 523 million. That's a 33% jump. That is people wanting local news and information. They want it. They crave it. We all do. We want to know what's going on nationally, of course, but what's happening right here in our backyard. What is going on with all of this? And we can see it too if we look at local TV news household viewing. This is the percentage of increase of households that are viewing local news. Again, from ComScore. This is just, I think it was just last week. I think the dates are down there. But Seattle, you can see, has jumped 28% in viewership. And that makes sense. Hot seat. People want to know what's going on in their backyard. Overall, it's 11%. Increase in this desire to understand what's going on. Now let's talk a little bit about businesses. So we all know now the term essential businesses. We are all familiar with it. This happens to be close to you guys. It's over in the Bay Area. This was their list. Now, what you're going to find is that local municipalities and states are coming out with their own list of essential businesses. Very similar if you put them side by side. This is just one example. There are ones that shouldn't surprise you up there. The top, healthcare and grocers, of course, are essential businesses. There are other ones that didn't leap out to me right away, but make complete sense. About halfway down, laundry services, dry cleaning companies. Why is that? Because what the governments are trying to do is keep those businesses open that supply other businesses, that help the economy keep going. You're going to have a lot of people in their house working from home. How do we keep that move? How do we support that? That's why those last two bullet points are another essential business, are office supply stores. So we want to be able to let people work from home, and we want to enable that. So that's what a lot of these essential businesses have in common. Now, the flip side of this is those businesses that are going to be, it's a different time for them. It's a different messaging now. These are the businesses that are going to face a lot of challenges. And it's any business that is focused on or concentrates on a large group of people doing something together, like nightclubs or movie theaters or museums, casinos. You get the idea. Anywhere there's a large concentration of people. Now, it doesn't mean these people are shuttering their businesses, and I'm sure there are some on the call right now, but it means your communication, what you talk about, and I'm putting advertising under the umbrella of communication because it's all about communication. What you communicate to your clients might be fundamentally different. And Jim's going to go over that in great detail later. But I just can't stress that C word enough. That communication is very important. So all businesses can probably be put into three buckets. One, you got the essential bucket, and that varies a little bit from region to region, but not much. Then you have another at-risk bucket, those ones that, again, take a lot of people in one place: museums, movie theaters, live entertainment, sports clubs, things like that. Then you have ones that are kind of in limbo, that don't fit into either bucket, and present their own challenges and their own solutions, like the automotive sales, the third one down. These are in alphabetical order, by the way, if you're wondering. The automotive sales, um, there are solutions there too. Instead of having people come to the lot, there are auto dealers that are driving new cars to people to let them test drive. So there are some creative solutions there. What these three buckets represent, I know it looks like green is good, red is bad, blue is somewhere in the middle, and we probably should change the colors. It means, moreover, the messaging has to be different. The people, the businesses in green, or on that green column, have a different message, a thank you message, for supporting us, and we're going to support you, as opposed to the ones in red have a different message, who want to keep connected to their community and their consumers, and the blue ones there. Now, there are ones, of course, there are exceptions all the time, over there on the right, that probably exist in two different buckets, like eating and drinking places, restaurants. Can't necessarily come and sit down and have a meal in some places, but if you have delivery, if you have takeout, that's an opportunity. Same with colleges and universities. You can imagine these others can't get everybody together, but can do things online.
Yeah, Corey, you're exactly right. Those three don't mean, okay, essential, everything's happy, I don't need to advertise. Okay, at risk, I don't need to advertise because nothing's really going to happen. It's exactly what Corey said. The messaging is different. So if you're an essential business, don't let somebody else come in and steal your business away while you're quiet, because they're going to make noise and they're going to say, hey, we got this stuff too. If you're an essential business, get out there and thank the public. Tell them that you're running out of things, but it'll be restocked. So it's a good time to brand. The at-risk businesses, good time to be creative. Good time to engage some of those ideas that Jim's going to tell you about shortly. But before we do that, I want to go back, Corey, to the business barometer and some of the things that we're seeing right now. We know that you're wondering whether this is going to end anytime soon. So let's get to that, what the peers
Sure.
are saying.
Sure. So we have this out. It's our survey that I told you that we do at the top of this section. We added 5 questions. I want to go over 2 of them. Again, I want you to think about how you would answer these questions, right? So the first one is, how long do you anticipate the impact on your business will last? Now, this survey is still actually out in the field. I got to shut it off today. So it just took off on Friday. went through today. So it's pretty fresh. 26% of the people who answered this said 3 to 4 months. 17% said even shorter. That's 43% saying 1 to 4 months. So that's the time window that a lot of your peers are looking at. Look at these, think about how you would answer it, but the majority is up there in the 1 to, even if you want to include 6 months, 1 to 6 months range. Another question that we ask is, as of today, have restrictions been put in place in your local area that make it harder for your customers to do business with you? We didn't think it would be this strong. 63% yes, and 22% said not yet, but will be soon. So that is 85% of local businesses out there that have been affected. So it's a new world. We don't know how long it lasts. Of course, a lot of people think, you saw on the previous slide, up to 4 months, but it's a new world. It's a new set of challenges out there. And we have to look at things and think about things a little bit differently. But look at this. This is fresh off the printer. This is from IBIS World. IBIS World tracks thousands of businesses in the U.S. and reports on them. This is their latest prediction as far as consumer confidence and consumer spending goes. The orange line is consumer confidence, obviously taking a hit in 2021. It drops. Really doesn't drop down, to the 2008-9 level. Why? Completely different emergencies, right? So a different kind of emergencies from back then, a mortgage crash. Here we have a healthcare concern. But look at the blue line, steadily up, about 1.8%. That's in that little call out box below. Why? Because people, even in this crisis, are still buying stuff. Now they might switch how they're buying it. They're buying it in mass or they're buying it online, but the consumer spending in and of itself still going up. Confidence down, spending up. Gordon, is there anything you want to?
Yeah, so anybody looking at their text messages, looking out the window or trying to do something right now, going to get a drink, come back to your computers and look at this slide. This is probably the most important slide. Lots and lots of great stuff we think on this webinar for you. This is it, okay? Don't let that orange line, and you can see where it is right now, and everybody down in the dumps, get you to thinking that consumer spending isn't up. Think of all the stuff that you've bought in the past couple of weeks. Okay, it's toilet paper, it's bacon, I don't know, what are you buying? But it could be other things, it could be other stuff as we had mentioned. So this is, something that is just so difficult for those who are not on the call, your competitors who said, oh, no, we're not going to participate in that. We're just too busy dealing with layoffs and are we going to do this, we're going to that. No, by the fact that you're on this call means you're actively thinking about your marketing. This is proof that those people who are down in the dumps and not acting right now are the ones who are going to get their business taken away, your competitors. It is a great time to be really active, go out there and help the community. We just got this chart in this morning and I just thought it was fantastic. So thank you, Corey, for showing that. Jim is going to jump into advice for local marketers. We've got about 10 minutes left here, I believe. And then we're going to jump into questions. Jim?
Great. Thank you, Gordon. And one of those questions in the most recent survey that was put out was to local businesses. And aside from cost or issues related to payments and terms, what is it that local media companies could do for you or ad agencies? And the two things that came to the top of the list were advise us and promote us. And that makes a lot of sense. And it's something that Gordon mentioned earlier. This is an opportunity to get people to help advise you because you could make some mistakes here, and sitting on the sidelines would probably be a big mistake for most of you. So looking for a good way to deliver a calm and confident message to your clients. It's important. The messaging right now is extremely important. We're going to talk more about that in a minute. And at the very bottom here, ideas to keep us relevant, even though we cannot interface face-to-face with our customers. That's a concern that a lot of you have right now, but there are opportunities for you to do it. So on the next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Our advice to you as local businesses in your communities. First and foremost, communicate to your customers. Email is one way to do it. Phone calls for some of you, really important to do. Look, if you're in the financial services or personal services category and you've got an opportunity to pick up the phone and call your best clients, you should be doing that right now. Whether you're a gym, you're a nonprofit, you're in real estate, all these different types of businesses right now, stay connected to your customers. You might do that through mass media. You might do that through email, phone call, social media, lots of different tactics. But look for some advice on how to do that and how to get your message out there in a way that's really going to resonate with people today. You want to communicate not only to your current customers, but also to new customers, people who maybe in the past would not have done business with you, but right now absolutely could do business with you for a lot of reasons, because their habits have changed, because maybe they're not out and about, they're at home, they may consume things differently. That's an opportunity for you. And by all means, make sure people know you're open, that you're open for business. What's a simple way to do that? Keep your advertising message out there and let them know. There's lots of businesses, people are wondering, is this business even open? Are they available? And if you are, you need to let people know that. Think of offers and promotions that are really going to be helpful to people in your community. I'm going to talk about some of those ideas in a moment, but with your messaging, first, don't feed the panic. Okay. People are concerned. You don't need to add to that. You don't want to downplay their concerns, but also don't feed into the panic. Don't provide medical advice, folks. If that's not the business you're in, you have no business giving medical advice. What you do want to do is emphasize to your customers what it is you're to keeping them safe, keeping your employees safe, keeping your facilities clean. Those are good messages to put out there. And of course, stay positive. I'd like to put this in 3 buckets for you on the next slide here. It's competitors, customers, and community. Consider this, okay? Your competitors, are they marketing right now? If they're not, this is a great opportunity for you, great opportunity for you to gain share. If they are marketing, you don't want to sit on the sidelines and let them take share away from you. And it really does hinge on your ability to communicate with your customers. A quick example, I work with a couple different financial planners. One of them has picked up the phone and called me 3 times. I've had great conversations with me. He's put my mind at ease. Another one, I'm getting emails. Most of those emails have been really look canned. They really do. So who's going to get my business when I come out of this? It's people who are communicating with you. Consider who your customers are and adjust to new market conditions. There might be, as I said, people who wouldn't have bought your product or your service in the past who now will. We were talking earlier to somebody who said, gosh, I'm a dog walking business. Who's going to use that if they're all at home right now? Well, there's a whole host of people who now, because they're in essential business category, that they are not home. They are out doing whatever it is. Maybe they're in law enforcement. Maybe they're National Guards called up. Maybe they are healthcare workers. And boy, they could use your service. So who knows? There's a change in those market dynamics. Think about what it is people right now need and how you can help. And the products and services that you offer may have a different value proposition today than they did just 2 weeks ago. So think about it from the perspective of what is it that people really value right now, and how can I best serve that particular need? Again, the last piece is consider your message and how you play with the community. All right. So whatever it is you do, how are you serving the community? And it may be through some type of promotion. And I'll talk about what those promotions are. Really, what promotions on the next slide here you're going to see is when we looked at what businesses have spent on advertising versus promotions over the last 10, 15 years, we see it really changing. So the white line here is the amount of money businesses spend on advertising, local businesses. The orange line is what's spent on local marketing and promotions. And you can see those things have really grown. And we think that's going to spike again here in the next couple of weeks, because businesses like you are looking for new ways to engage with people. You see, it's not enough to just put your message out in front of them. You need to do that, but do it in such a way that you're going to be able to interact with people. And so we're suggesting that you look at ways to do that. They could be contests. They could be webinars like we're doing right now with the folks at Swift. It could be any number of things you do to get someone to maybe fill out a form, give you some information so that you can interact with them more. So on the next slide, let me just describe this. A promotion usually is a short time event. All right. And it really is designed to create something immediate and in short-term business. Marketers tend to use these promotions not only generate sales, but also to build a customer list, right? People who are interacting with you. And those are opportunities for you to then communicate with those people more and more often and make it a two-way channel, all right? So you're not just pushing stuff out at them, you're actually hearing back from them. That's a good way to think about what promotions are. And then next, there's so many different ideas. I'm going to just throw a couple of them at you. Okay. Campaigns that are designed to sort of make people feel a little bit more comfortable right now, to provide them useful information. All right. Maybe even entertain them. Okay. So you're part of that community. Let people know you're open. Let them know you want to help. And here's a couple ideas how to do it. Here's one: most creative working from home photo contest. There's so many people right now working from home, creating really interesting workspaces. Maybe you're providing something would help somebody have a more comfortable work environment, office furniture, whatever it might be. Tips on entertaining kids during the workday. I don't care what your business is, you can probably relate to the fact that people right now are trying to struggle with, how do I get my work done at the home while my kids are here? How about register to be notified when we reopen? Get a 50% off coupon. That's a great way to again get people to act now, do something, so that as soon as you do open, you can hit the ground running. How about we come to you? There's lots of these opportunities, whether it's an oil change, car repair. I think earlier you heard car dealers in some cases are bringing cars to people to test drive. Here's another great one. I'm going to actually let Gordon speak to this because I think it's such a great example of a promotional thing that you can do to serve your community. Gordon, will you take this last one, the buy a second one?
Sure. There's a pizza shop sitting on Broadway looking at nobody out there. There's just, wind blowing, right? Oh, woe is me. Nope. They called all their customers, put signs in the window. We got delivery. Okay. And then when everybody calls, they doubled their pizza sales by saying, would you like to add a pizza to that, just the same one? And then we'll send it over to the hospital. They've got so many volunteers over there. They're busy nonstop. They can't even get out to get any food. So, how about an extra pizza? Just about everybody's saying yes. Sure. That can be done with florists. That can be done with people who, I don't know, sell other types of food or cookies or things like that. Hey, buy an extra one to help the volunteers. We'll send some flowers over to the nursing home. Just think of the creative ideas, that you have. So many people sitting at home thinking about landscaping, fixing all the problems at the house that they have, cracks in the ceiling. They need some painting done. They need some mulch delivered. All the stuff that they can do. There's just so many ideas out there. It's a great time to be creative. Like I said, rely on your local marketing experts there at Swift. They have lots of these ideas. They've been doing promotions for lots of people. Schedule a brainstorming session with them and see what they got. What do you got? There's just so many great ideas out there. It's just so hard for all of us. I can sound positive and energetic about it, but I wake up in the mornings and go, oh gosh, this is horrible. I tell you what I do. I just don't watch the news anymore. We got too much business to do. Stay away from the news, be positive, and look for great creative ideas. Jim?
Great. Thank you. And I think we'll turn it back over to Bob now. Thanks, Bob, for having us on.
Thank you, Jim and Gordon and Corey, and certainly those who are participating with us. I do want to let everyone know that, as we discussed, the importance of at least communicating with your customers and certainly letting them know if you are open. The Tribune, the Sun, and the Union all have features that are basically designed around that. It's open for business. Those are free listings to businesses that are open. And then you need to think again, really how you can extend that messaging to whether they are, as they were, Gordon and Jim talked about, promotions, or just in general, what you're doing to take the customer's safety in mind and doing business with them currently. Regarding that, is there don't see that we have any questions, Gordon.
Sure, I can tell you what other people are asking. I could just go over just
That'd
one
be
or two
great.
questions. So maybe it's something mine. You guys are shy or something. I don't know. Uh, one question is, any indication on when will end? We just gave that to you. It's, and it's actually seems to be slightly improving, but it's going to be a while. It is definitely going to be a while. And that's not maybe the point of this webinar. The point is marketing. The questions that we get most pertain to your specific business, which tells us that you're having a hard time coming up with those ideas yourself. What about my spa? It's shut down. What can I do? What about my printing shop or this or that? You just have to find somebody. You may be too immersed in that business and too worried. Frankly, you've got bills to pay and nobody's coming in the door and et cetera. Give it to somebody who's a little more energetic and somebody who's got some ideas. So the questions, Bob, that we typically get are very specific to a business. And as you sit back and think about it, that just tells me, people are really having a hard time coming up with ideas right now. So go seek somebody who is creative and can come up with ideas. By all means, make sure that you run that idea by a marketing expert, because there have been some crazy ideas that I have come up with for our own business, like posing in our bathing suits for something, and that didn't work. And I'm glad we have smart people in the company that said, no, we better not do that. But that wasn't particularly for this session. It was for something we were doing in another market. But anyway,
Hey, Gordon.
thank you very much. Yes, sir.
And we certainly had the example of Post and Kellogg, but in general, when there are recessions, and certainly this is, as Corey said, this is a different kind of economic crisis. This is a health crisis that's slowing our community down. But what type of opportunities do you think there are for those that stay active, stay optimistic in terms of gaining market share?
Oh, it's very clear, and there's a lot of historical examples and anecdotes of that, not, just 100 years ago, but at other times too. One of them is our own business. We launched this business knowing everything. We're experts in disruptive innovation and, and how that affects markets and businesses and industry segments and things like that. We launched our business during 9/11 and at the economic downturn with the dot-com bubble burst. We launched a major conference at the top of the recession because we knew people were looking for insights. So I think this is a different time, Bob. You're right. This isn't 9/11, which lasted a couple of weeks, and yeah, there was a bit of an economic downturn, but it wasn't really local, was it? The recession, yeah, there might be something related to that did affect a lot of people, but it wasn't sudden and stark and had everybody sitting in their houses. So this is a different time. All I can say, it is time to be creative. The good news, and you should be pushing good news to your customers as well. And I'll give you one other bit of advice. Don't use COVID-19 in a subject line of an email or in your promotions. Everybody's using it. It's a negative term. It brings about a little bit of fear and people are scared. Don't link that to your brand. Do something else and bring some positive news to people too. People do want to look on the bright side, be that beacon. So here's a bit of bright side for you. This isn't the recession of 2008, which was really, really severe and lasted for several years. This looks like it's actually something we've been expecting for a number of years, a short, sharp recession. It may actually be shorter than we had initially expected, which would be 6 to 8 months or something like that. We don't know. We don't really know. But it does have an awful lot of signs of there's still pent up demand and pent up excitement, a lot of money saved up, a lot of money being spent. Prices are down for lots of things, and they have been for quite a while. So I think when a springback does occur, it could be pretty good. I would not expect it next week or next month. Toward the end of the year, certainly, I do expect that. Now is the time to position yourself for that spring back. You can certainly affect sales right now, but what you're telling people during this crisis is we're here, we're here, we're here, we're here. And when that spring back occurs, you're going to have mind share with those people. It is a branding message on top of all the other stuff you can do with promotions to affect sales right now. Bob?
You know what, Gordon, I'll jump in too. And I think you have an opportunity to establish yourself as as a leader in your community, not the market, the community. I mean, in Lake Tahoe alone, last year, $4.44 million was spent on sponsorships, right? Sponsoring things, spending money on the Little League team, all that stuff. $6 million on events. So whatever local businesses were doing that for, this is an opportunity to do that, you know, to show them as a leader, as somebody who cares about a community.
Well, Gordon and Corey and Jim, thank you very much. Really appreciate the time. And with that, we'll sign off, and want to encourage the listeners that your account managers at the Tribune, the Sun, and the Union are there to help. We'll got the expertise to hopefully understand what your problems may be in terms of the communication needs. And we'll work on those to be creative. And, you know, as Gordon said, spring back. I like the promotion idea of when we're open or whatever, that you give an incentive that you start collecting data on who's interested in doing business with you. Thanks again. Really appreciate it. Good information.
Thanks, everybody. Be safe out there. Go get them.